Good evening, Des Moines, Iowa, and the world. Welcome to the N Lefty program, broadcasting to you from the Northside webcast1live.com studios in lovely post-industrial Des Moines. This is Lefty coming to you. My main man, my PIC and the BMOC is not here. He's still whiling away the hours, toiling in the hot sun of western South Dakota, making sure that all of those bikers out there are well taken care of from a professional psychiatric and medical context. I know that he wanted me to say that so that if his accountant wondered about the write-off of the trip, it was all covered. Maybe I shouldn't have said that last part. But anyway, no, so Doc's not here tonight, but this is live. I know we had a repeat last week, so thank you for coming back to join us again. Tonight on the show, we have our sort of I don't know what you would call our friend of the show here. We have our friend of the show, Phaedra Strohmeyer, professional guest host extraordinaire, and basically the one thing that has consistently lent credibility to our show since day one of her association with it, whether she likes to admit it or not. So, Phaedra, how is it going this evening?
Wow, I really hope I can live up to that kind of an introduction.
Don't self-deprecate. You know you're great. But no. So what's been going on? What you haven't been on for a while.
I have not. I've been very busy at school and trying to get all edumacated. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
I've still got 2 years left out of a 3-year program. That's going to take longer than I want it to.
But you signed up for the 3-year.
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
So we brought Phaedra in. Obviously, it was Doc's here, but we also would have had her in a few weeks ago when there was a lot of and I hate using this word. You know that I hate using this word. And there's a lot of women's issues in the news about a month ago, just kind of popping up all over the place. I think that was about 3 or 4 weeks ago is when the first Planned Parenthood stuff started to surface, and then about 6 weeks ago, maybe 4 to 6 weeks ago, is when the president promulgated some new rules allowing for the coverage of contraception for women who work in closely held corporations that are now using the Hobby Lobby decision. We all know what that decision was. The decision that let closely held corporations claim religious beliefs to the extent that they would not provide contraceptive services because it violated said religious beliefs. And we can talk about that a little bit too. But mainly the two things that I want to talk about with you tonight, Phaedra, is this Planned Parenthood stuff, and whether or not the 2012 war on women, given this business of Planned Parenthood, extrapolating that into a larger conversation about the kind of the resurgence of what I would consider to be a effort at political control over women's bodies that we haven't seen in an awfully long time, at least since prior to the 1970s. It just we've been seeing this constant pressure on women's choice from political leaders in the last 10 years, and it's been successful. It's been increasingly successful in the states, maybe not so much at the national level. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about tonight and get your perspective on it. And for the folks that are listening, you're going to hear a lot of my, I don't know, post-revolutionary neo-socialist talk about women's issues, and I take a pretty, what I would consider, liberal stance on most of that stuff. But my friend Phaedra here, Phaedra, you are not a self-identified liberal, is that correct? Did I call you out? I didn't mean to.
Well, I think, and I've been on the show before and stated that I would identify more as libertarian than liberal, but I don't know. The older I get, the more liberal I seem to get. I don't know what's up with that.
It usually goes the other way around.
And yet I keep finding things that are just really, really horrible that I would really like to see the government do something about, or stop trying to do something bad about in this particular case. Certainly.
Now, because my understanding was that while you might be fairly liberal about things, like women's bodies or maybe drugs legislation, that you were willing to balance the budget on the backs of the poor. So that's what. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But So we've got a kind of an interesting perspective on this. I know that you've got a take on it. You've been kind of following this stuff in the news for the last couple of weeks, and especially getting prepared for tonight, which we always appreciate. And so if you folks have any kind of input, you can always call the studio. That number is 1-800-244-00. I messed it up. 241-0077. I got it. I knew that I would remember it. And you can lay into me if you feel like it. And I promise that I won't tell Doc and make sure that you never call in again. But anyway, we got a few minutes left in this segment. I guess we can set it up. So as far as I understand, Fader, you'll have to correct me on anything that I screw up. So the big controversy.
Of course.
Yes. Yes. The big controversy, as I understand the whole Planned Parenthood business, is that recently, in the last month or so, some folks from the Center for Medical Progress, I believe is the name of the organization, which is as much of a misnomer, misleading sort of thing that I have ever heard. I don't know that they're necessarily care about progress, or that, and this is complete conjecture, and I don't know this for a fact. I don't know that they have much medical staff on the premises. I haven't done any research into it, but from their tactics, it seems like, and from their self-described leader who came from a place called Live Action several years ago, which was targeted as being a pretty not extreme, but definitely committed anti-abortion organization that I think he calls they're all committed committed journalists or something along those lines, or citizen journalists that take a stance and want to uncover the corruption and the evil at the heart of these pro-choice organizations such as Planned Parenthood. They ran what I would air quote strongly as stings against some officials from Planned Parenthood and videotaped them covertly, which is not against the law in most states. And this might be interesting for people to know, Iowa included. Most states, Iowa among them, is you don't need consent from a second party as long as you know that you're recording them. Some states are different. They need to know. So yeah, it's interesting. And certainly you have legitimate investigative journalists that would not be able to do their jobs if that were the case in a lot of instances. But they videotaped some conversations and then released videos on the internet that were purported to show that Planned Parenthood officials were discussing the sale and the profiteering of human body parts taken from the remains of and tissue of aborted fetuses, or as these folks I think have called them on more than one occasion, murdered children. So that's where the big controversies come from. Planned Parenthood, I think, had a hard time sort of explaining some of the initial videos that came out. They didn't do a very good job, at least in their initial press releases, and saying. But honestly, no, I don't sell aborted tissue. So when did you stop beating your wife? That seems like that's the kind of thing. But we're gonna that's kind of where the controversy lies, and I want to have you kind of explain some of what your understanding is right after the break. Which we're coming up on right now. So folks, please stick around for the next hour with friend of the show, Fader Strohmeyer, a professional woman extraordinaire, who's going to lend her expertise and her perspective on this. And by expertise, I mean expertise as a woman, because you are a woman, correct?
Last time I checked.
Okay, good. And and her perspective on this kind of stuff, because it's important that, two white men who blather on every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30 aren't the only voices that are involved in this particular conversation. So check out our sponsors, Labinas Law Firm, Retroshan Associates. We've got Halo Capital. We've got Des Moines Anesthesia. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, docandlefty.com. We've got some content there. And please stick around. And if you feel like calling in, call in, because we want to hear from you, and we want to keep giving you the perspectives you love from the sides you hate. We'll be right back after this.